How are you doing, my friend? I hope you're doing amazing and turning this day into an absolutely brilliant and magnificent one. Well, in this video, we're going to talk about a special technique with a special blend mode to create light sources. Yes, you heard that right. We can use the same technique to create highlights and also some colorful contrast. Can you guess what that blend mode is? Well, it is color dodge because it is special and we talked about color. Gotta be color dodge, right? Now keep in mind, color dodge is one of the special 8 blend modes, which means that whenever you work with one of these blend modes, opacity and fill will react differently. Opacity will simply control the transparency of that layer, while fill will control the projection. And we're going to notice that and learn more about it through the examples in this lesson. So without any further ado, let's get started. Back in the Magico world of Photoshop, and if you wish to follow along, you can of course download all of the assets, but not just the sample images, but also finished PSDs as well. So you can use that as a reference. Alright, so what we're going to do here is to turn on the lights of this color. How is that possible? Well, one of the ideas that might come to your mind when you first look at it, learning from the lessons that you have gone through before, is why not we simply go ahead and create a curves and just simply take it up something like that. Alright, really up. Select the mask, press Ctrl or Command I. You can take the brush, white as the foreground color, and then just dab with a soft round brush. Does that work? Well, it kind of works. It's not that nice, but it works. Now, this tells us that there are many ways to skin a cat. I wouldn't do that, but you get the point. There are many ways to do the same thing in Photoshop, and there is no way which is wrong. It's about what way looks the best to you, works the best for you. That's it. We're going to be using the color dodge technique here because it gives you more control over the color. And when you have a very bright source of light, have you noticed that it creates a highlight where all of the details are gone? A blinding highlight? That effect can be easily achieved with color dodge. Now, there are 2 ways of doing it. If you don't want so much control over the color, you can just create a brand new layer. All right. Take the brush and you can take a bright yellow color, whatever color you want the light to be. So let's say I want this color right there. Hit OK. You can take the brush, soft round brush, and just simply dab right over there. And then simply change the blend mode from normal to color dodge. It still doesn't look realistic. There's one more step involved. And that is you double click on the right hand side of the layer and just uncheck transparency shapes layer. That will not allow the transparency of the layer, in other words, the area that are not painted, and the smooth gradient that it creates to control the overall shape of the object that you have painted, thus allowing color dodge to take control of the shape. And now the shape and intensity is determined by what is under it. Have a look at it. Isn't that amazing? Now, if you hit OK after unchecking this, you would notice that as we move it, see, right here, the size is the largest. But if we take it to a darker area, it gets very small, right? So it is dependent on what is underneath it. And that is why you need to uncheck transparency shape layer. Let's double click on the right hand side of the layer. Sorry about that sound. Let me decrease that. All right. If you uncheck that, it'll happen. Now you need to do this step. It's essential. Another way is if you want more control over the color, if you want gradients in here, or if you want multiple colors, in that case, you can simply create a gradient fill layer by clicking on right here and single click on right here. And now on the left hand side, you want the opacity to be 100. And on the right hand side, you want the opacity to be 0. Now, on the left hand side, you can choose whatever color you want. And on the right hand side, as it fades away, you can choose a color. So we can choose something like from a little white-ish color to yellowish. So let's go with a little warmer yellow right in there. So that's a good gradient. Hit OK. Now, we want the gradient to be radial. Right? We don't want a linear gradient like that. So change the style from linear to radial and you can place it right over here. It's more realistic. If you look at the overall gradient, see, it starts from a little whitish color, which is closer to yellow, just a little bit. And as it fades away, it gets more and more yellow, but it fades away as well. Anyway, now, of course, this is too huge. So you can decrease the scale to about 20 for now and hit OK. Now we need to change the blend mode from normal to color dodge. That's it. That's all you have to do in this case. You don't need to double click on the right hand side of the layer and uncheck transparency shapes layer because you don't need to do that if you create a gradient fill layer, because in a fill layer, it's an adjustment layer. Transparency is not shaping the layer anyway. So you only need to do that extra step with regular layers. All right, so let's go ahead and delete that. I like the gradient method in this case. In some cases, you might have to create a layer and do it. It depends upon situation to situation and what works best for you and what is faster for you as well. All right, so let's turn this on, and that way we have created this very realistic light around it. Now, of course, we need to make some adjustments here. Single click on in here. You can always click on this one and change the color to whatever you like. You can go for a little more yellowish color. You can choose a little more white color. That's up to you. I'm going to stick to what it was. I think that was nice. And on the right hand side, yellow is fine. Now what's happening is it's also interacting with the existing colors. So we need to stop that. But first of all, make sure that the position is all right. So we're going to place it right in the center and also make sure scaling is all right. So if we go 25, what do you think about it? 22 is nice. It creates that blinding highlight realistic. I love it. Now it's affecting the surrounding areas. So select the mask, take the brush, black as the foreground color, and just erase it from the extra areas. Now you can keep a little bit of it here as the light might be falling. There we go. A little more realistic. Now, if you want, you can take away the color just in that area, because if you look at it, the light is also interacting with the color that's already there. So what we can do, we can try this. If this looks good, fine. If this doesn't, we can always delete it. We can create a hue saturation adjustment layer and simply take the saturation all the way to the left. Select the mask, press Ctrl or Command I, and with white as the foreground color, just start painting in this area where you want to simply remove the existing colors. That's all. We don't want to do it in all of the places. Like a little bit here. Let me bring back the color. It was looking realistic. But in some areas like this, we need to take away the colors. There you go. Just by doing that, have a look at the light. Isn't that amazing? Now, one other thing that we talked about in the beginning of the lesson, and that is color dodge is one of the special 8 blend modes. And when it comes to these special blend modes, opacity and fill react differently. So if you simply decrease the opacity, have a look, it just fades it. But if you decrease the fill, it will control the projection. And as soon as we do that, have a look how realistic this looks. Now, we're going to decrease the fill. And just as we do that, wow, now it looks realistic. So we're going to go with something like 86. And there you go. Have a look at the light. I'm in love with that. Now let's get back to hue saturation. And I think I would remove the color from this area as well. Maybe a little bit here is fine. What do you think? No. Let's take it away. There you go. Now, if you want more color in that area, you can create one more hue saturation adjustment layer only with that area. Or what you can do, you can, instead of decreasing the saturation, you can just simply click on colorize. That's it. And then you can choose whatever color you want. I want a little warmer color, less saturation. So something like this. There you go. And have a look at the light. It is so realistic. Now you can do the same in this area as well. So for this, you need to create one more gradient fill. So let's press Ctrl or Command J. Now double click on the gradient adjustment and simply move it right over there in the center. There you go. Now we need to have a similar mask here as well. So you can just click on the mask and then just move the mask right there. And we definitely need to make some adjustments to this mask. So select the mask, take the brush, and erase the extras at the top. And paint back with white in some areas. Of course, this area will have a little brightness. There you go. Makes it a little more realistic. You can also take your time to paint the rest of the areas. Now, with hue saturation as well, let's go to the mask of that layer. And with white as the foreground color, just simply paint this area as well. And that takes care of this light. There you go. You want to have a look at the before and after? So this is the before, no light, and this is the after, the light is turned on. Just as a reminder, we are using the blend mode color dodge. So we are coloring and we are brightening, because dodging is brightening, burning is darkening. Does that give you an idea? How about using color burn as well? We'll get to that in the third example. Let's not get too excited about that. Let's focus on our second example. We're going to do the same thing just to have your ideas and concepts clearer. So let's say we want to create this person getting a shock from this light bulb, and for that we're going to create an electric arc. So where can we find an electric arc? Well, I have an image right here of lightning, so we can use this as a reference and we can actually copy the arc from here. So let's open this as another document. Find an arc which is more straight and that would look good right here. I think this area would look perfect. So with the help of the lasso tool, just select that area. I think this would be great. What do you think? Till this area? All right, there you go. So now press Ctrl or Command C and paste it here, Ctrl or Command V. Now change the blend mode from normal to, what will be the blend mode here? We're gonna make the sky absolutely black and only keep the lightning. Now what is the lightning doing? It's brightening the area. Now what is the blend mode we use for brightening stuff and hiding everything that is absolutely black? Screen, right? So change the blend mode to screen. This looks nice. Now we need to make some adjustments, but for right now, just let's fit it properly. I think this would be a nice location for it, and we can actually move it a little bit right here. I think this looks okay. Then make it a little smaller. There you go. And you can also warp it a little bit. Right click on it and then choose warp. And we can just move things here and there. All right, that looks about right. Now there's this extra area. How do we take that away? Well, create a curves adjustment layer and make the skies in the lightning absolutely black. If you do any adjustments now, what will happen is that the curves adjustment layer will affect both the lightning and the subject. So we want to limit it just to the lightning. What do we do for this? Simply click on this button. It creates a clipping mask, and that way it only affects the layer that is beneath it. All right, let's make the darks darker by taking the slider on the left to the right. And just when these lines go away, we're going to stop. So just about right there. There you go. All of it is gone, and have a look how realistic this looks. Now you can make the brights a little brighter if you want to create a more glow effect right over here. That's up to you, but this is nice to me. Wow, it just looks so nice, doesn't it? Now we need to select the lightning layer. Let's name it Organization is Important. Now click on the mask button, take the brush, black as the foreground color, and just remove the extras right here. I think we will stop right about here. All right. At the moment, it doesn't look realistic, and that's where we will use color dodge just in this area to add that light source, to add that highlight right in here, and to add that burn in his fingers. In this case as well, you can use a gradient, or you can just take a brush and dab. But if you notice here, the bright areas are absolutely white, and as it fades away, it is more yellowish. So I think gradient would make more sense here. So let's go ahead and create a gradient fill layer. And this time on the left hand side, we would want something white. So if we sample that, we'll get a similar color. And on the right hand side, we want something yellowish. So we're going to take something yellowish or something like that. We can always change this later. That is the advantage of adjustment layers. Hit OK. And we don't want linear, we want radial. There you go. And it's still not matching. If you just look at the overall gradient, it's still not matching. On the right hand side, we want a little warmer color. So what if we go for something like this? See, now it's matching. What if we go for, I'm just trying to adjust color and match it accordingly. So what if we select this? I think that's matching more. We're gonna increase the saturation a little more like this. There you go, that's matching a lot. Hit OK and hit OK again. Now, of course, we need to change the scale. Let's decrease it to 5%. Now we will move it right over there. So let's keep it right in the center. There you go. And hit OK. Now you can change the method perceptual, linear, classic, see what you feel like. So I'm going to leave it to perceptual. Hit OK. And change the blend mode, as you guessed it, right from normal to color dodge. You see that brightness right there? It just looks like his fingers burning. Now it is too much, of course, and there are two ways we can reduce it. Number one, you can always go to the properties of the adjustment layer and decrease the scaling to about 2 or 3 and see what happens. So I'm going to keep it at about 4. Let's leave it at 5 first. And the other thing that you can do is decrease the fill. So let's first try decreasing the fill and see what happens. Now we can actually move it right here. And actually, we can increase the scaling. So if we increase it to 8, so it's also affecting other areas. So let's keep it at 6, hit OK, and decrease the fill even further. Slowly and gradually increase it. Now it's looking nice. So you can move it a little bit to the right hand side. And there you go. Have a look at it. Now it's looking like it's really getting the shock. Now, if you want a little more glow around it, you can make a copy of this gradient fill by pressing Ctrl or Command J. And in this copy, you can change the blend mode to instead screen. That creates a glow that doesn't interact too much. See that glow right there? I'm moving it to the side so that you can see what is happening. And then we can increase the fill right in here to see. And of course, the colors are not matching here. So we're going to go to the gradient properties, and then we will make some adjustments here. What if we make it a little more orangish? And also at the same time, we move the middle point a little bit to the left. Like this. Okay, that works. And this area as well, we'll add a little warmth. There you go. Hit OK, hit OK again, hit OK again. And now, whoops, I'm so sorry about that. Double click on the adjustment layer. This needs to be open for this to move, and then you can move it right over here. There you go. And then you can control the scaling. You can have 4, 5, whatever you wish. 4, I think it's more ideal here. And there you go. He's getting a wonderful shock, the shock of his life. Or maybe he's Electro-Man. Was it Electro-Man in Spider-Man? I don't remember. Oh, it's just Electro. Anyway, let's move on. By now we have talked about color dodge. And if we break it down, color and dodge, we are just adding color and we are brightening it, right? What if we darken it instead? What blend mode that would be? There's an opposite blend mode inside of the blend modes category right there. And that is color burn. What if we combine the effect of color dodge and color burn? What will happen? Well, we can use this technique to add a colorful contrast. Have a look at this photo. Wonderful colors, beautiful composition, amazing costume, wonderful subject. What if you want to enhance it? Just like one of those advertisement of LG or Samsung or Sony OLED TVs. So first of all, we're going to create a hue saturation adjustment layer. All right. And change the blend mode from normal to color dodge. Now, as of now, we are not doing anything right here. We just changed the blend mode to color dodge. It is very equivalent of just having a copy of this layer and changing the blend mode to color dodge. It will create the same effect. Instead of creating a raster layer, we are simply creating a hue saturation adjustment layer. Think of it like a virtual copy of a merged layer of everything that is under that adjustment layer. So let's reset that. I'm just changing the blend mode from normal to color dodge. Now at the moment, this is too much, all right? So let's decrease the fill. Let's zoom in first. And as soon as we begin to get the details, we will stop. So still, see, that area is too overexposed, blown out. I think we're gonna stay at 12 right now, all right? Now let's make one more copy of this hue saturation adjustment layer by pressing Ctrl or Command J. First of all, let's name it. This is color dodge, and this one is going to be color burn. All right, and change the blend mode from normal. First of all, let's increase the fill just to see what is happening. We're going to decrease it anyway, but for right now, let's just increase it and change it to color burn. It's darkening stuff, of course, because there's burning in the name. We're going to decrease the fill here as well. Now, keep in mind, this is also one of the special 8 blend modes. Decrease it. We still don't have any details here. So we can keep it at about 8%, 10%. All right, let's keep it 10 for now. We're losing some details here, but that's all right. We can keep it at 8. I think 8 is fine. Now, just by doing this, have a look at the before and after. Here's the before, here's the after. Isn't that fantastic? Now let's take it a step further. Now keep in mind, these are hue saturation adjustment layers. You can do anything right here. You can colorize it. You can increase the saturation. First of all, let's try colorizing it. So you can have different colors in here, and see, as you change the color, see the tone here is changing. See that? And then you can increase the saturation to see the complete effect. So I've increased the saturation all the way to the right hand side, and then you can change the tones and create this beautiful tone right there for the highlights, and create a beautiful tone by checking colorize for the shadowy areas, for the dark areas. So you can increase the saturation and just change the tone of the image. See that? Wonderful, isn't it? So you got lots of option for this colorful contrast. Other thing that you can do here, which I like for this image, is that first of all, let's reset everything. I'm unchecking colorize here as well. Even if you just simply increase the saturation, have a look at it, my friend. It just does such a tremendous effect. Similarly, right here as well, simply increase the saturation and now have a look at the colors. It's just out of this world. So here's the before. Now, I know it's faded. If you want to create a faded effect, I'm going to tell you what to do. But for right now, here's the before. Here's the after. Just look at the vibrancy of these colors before, after. It's on another level. Now, on top of that, if you want to create that faded effect, you can create a curves adjustment layer. And then you can take it up, take the bright areas a little down. And for the dark areas, you can take it a little up. And if you want an additional faded effect in the extreme dark areas, you can take the extreme left up right here. But I like it to have full contrast. So there you go, my friend. Some colorful contrast here and there. And of course, you can check colorize to control what color is going to be applied along with the contrast. If you simply just want to increase the saturation, you can do that too, as we have done right here. I'm excited to look forward to what you create with this super fun technique. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.